Welcome to TrichoLAB. Today I'm going to walk you through a real consultation scenario that we see almost daily. We are going to use the TrichoLAB 3D Studio, in which we are able to scan the patient's head in 3D, perform the trichoscopy, predict the hair loss, and compare the before and after. It is the current patient's visuals in 3D against what we've planned during the consultation. Usually, a patient comes in with a quote from another clinic, typically between 4,000 to 6,000 grafts at competitive prices. On the surface, it sounds excellent. But when we analyze the donor capacity and predict the future hair loss, we often discover a completely different story. Let me show you what proper surgical planning looks like. The challenge we face is managing patients' expectations while ensuring long-term aesthetic outcomes. Large graft numbers are appealing, but they don't account for two critical factors: finite donor supply and progressive hair loss. Our approach addresses both. Let's walk through this systematically. First, let's define the total treatment area. This is a classic Norwood-free presentation. We have temple recession and posterior hairline movement. Our objective is to restore natural density to these areas while preserving the donor resources for future procedures. This balance is crucial. At the hairline, we exclusively use single follicular unit grafts. This is the gold standard for achieving natural anterior transition. We are placing between 350 and 420 grafts along the hairline itself. For the temporal recession, we work with the density of approximately 45 grafts per square centimeter. This is based on the natural hair density in these areas. Let me demonstrate this in real time. When we calculate the total, we look at 1,700 to 2,300 grafts. The exact number will depend on the specific patient's scalp geometry. Notice this is significantly lower than those 4,000 to 6,000 grafts proposals. And there's a clinical reason for this conservative approach, which becomes clear when we analyze the donor capacity. This is the safe donor zone, and I'm going to set it to 50%. This is when the evidence-based planning becomes essential. I am now activating the Safe Donor Zone assessment. This tool calculates the maximum number of grafts we can safely extract from the patient's donor area over the patient's lifetime based on the donor capacity and scalp characteristics. When set to 50%, the system indicates a lifetime capacity approximately 8,000 to 10,000 grafts. This is our total budget, not just for today, but also for the future procedures. Now, patients often reply saying, "Perfect, let's use half of it today." And while it seems logical mathematically, it becomes problematic when we factor in the progressive hair loss. I'm now activating the future simulation mode. This allows us to project the likely hair loss progression based on the family history and genetic patterns. Most patients will experience continued thinning, particularly in the vertex and mid-scalp regions. As you can see, the hair density decreases posteriorly. This is a typical progression pattern. Now, here's a critical question. If we invest 5,000 grafts in an aggressive hairline today, and the patient's hair loss continues to this stage over the next 10 to 15 years, what's the aesthetic outcome? Exactly, we created what is known as a hair island. Dense hair in the front and significant hair loss in the back. First of all, this isn't aesthetically pleasing, and second of all, it's really hard to correct because we've already depleted the donor supply. This is why our protocol emphasizes conservative initial treatment with donor preservation. Our approach covers the patient's current needs while also maintaining the donor reserves for the future procedures. Density can always be enhanced in the subsequent sessions, but donor grafts, once harvested, cannot be replaced. This is irreversible. Let me demonstrate another important variable: hairline positioning. This is the hairline editor. Watch what happens when I lower the hairline by just a few millimeters. The graft requirement increases by several hundred units just from this minimal adjustment. Now let's project this forward using our future simulation with progressive thinning. This creates what we call a juvenile hairline paradox, an unnatural low hairline that becomes progressively inappropriate with the patient's age and posterior hair loss. The position that we recommend optimizes graft efficiency while maintaining age-appropriate aesthetics over time. It's counterintuitive, but clinically superior. Let me summarize our strategic approach. For the immediate treatment, we have the hairline and the temporal areas counting between 1,700 to 2,300 grafts. For the donor preservation, we have approximately 6,000 to 8,000 grafts reserved. For the future flexibility, we have the capacity for the density enhancement or coverage of progressive hair loss. And as of the aesthetic outcome, we have the natural appearance now with the possibility of future planning. This represents the difference between the tactical treatment and strategic surgery planning. Proposals offering 4,000 to 6,000 grafts at reduced costs often overlook donor limitations and future progression. While they might seem attractive initially, they might compromise long-term outcomes. Our protocol prioritizes donor preservation, progressive planning, and sustainable aesthetics. This entire analysis is exported as a comprehensive PDF report. Your patient can receive it printed or digitally. You can also record the whole session and share the video with your patient. When we have the complete documentation, we offer the complete transparency, and this becomes a part of their permanent medical record.